Okay, let's move on to gardener Leslie and hear about growing beets.
Hi, I'm going to talk about beet growing today. The seeds that you see are actually a seed ball. So when you plant them, there's multiple seeds in there, and it's super important that you space the seeds when you plant them and to thin them. You want to plant them 2 inches, a 2-inch diameter around each seed. And then when you thin it, you want to thin them to a 3-inch diameter around each seedling. And again, like carrots and any other root vegetables, it's super important you want to go really deep. The roots of a beet can go up to a foot. So it's important that you dig deep and you want a really fluffy soil, no rocks, no sticks. You don't want your clay. So you need to get a lot of compost in there and have a nice loose bed before you start planting. And they say that it's best to plant the seeds in, you want to build up a little furrow and plant them in there. And they actually require a lot of fertilizer. You want to add a lot of fertilizer unless you're using a lot of compost. It's a cup of 10-20-10 fertilizer per 10-foot row, which seems like a lot to me, but and then once the seedlings are 4 to 6 inches, you side fertilize it again. So very important that you make sure these things are well fed and well watered. They require a moist soil to grow well. So you can start planting them now if you can get your garden unthawed. Up until the beginning of May is the best time, and again in the fall. They are semi-hardy, so they will tolerate light frosts, but not heavy frosts. So you can overwinter the beets and dig them up in the spring. You can tell when they're ready to be dug up. You'll first start to get green sprigs coming up, and you got to dig them up right away or they get really fibrous. So if you want a fall planting and you forget that they're in there, and dig them up in the spring before they start sprouting. Again, it's really important to keep them weed free, and if they touch their neighbors, you'll get an abnormal looking beet. So you want to make sure that you thin them really well and keep your garden weed free, so there's no competition for them to hit other beets or other weeds. So they germinate in 10 to 15 days, and you can get a harvest in 50 to 60 days. The greens are edible, so the earlier in the season, the better. When you're thinning your beets, you can eat those. They're supposed to be very tasty. So the VCE recommended varieties are the Ruby Queen and the Detroit Dark Red. You can also try the golden beets, which are the yellow beets. And there's one called D. Chioga, which is the striped one. When you cut it open, it's striped inside. So it's really pretty. So, and there's also a cylindrical one that's supposed to be pretty good too. So, and if you really like the tops to eat the greens, there's one called green top bunching, which is good for the greens. So one thing you have to worry about for pests and diseases, the Cercospora leaf spot, which is fairly common in other plants like peppers, lettuce, spinach. It's kind of a maintenance thing. You want to make sure you want to keep the plant moist, but you don't want to. It has to do with watering the leaves. So make sure you clean up your clippings around it. You don't want a lot of diseased. If you see these, pull them off. Don't just leave it in your garden to spread. It's a fungus. Mulch around the plant and avoid watering the leaves. So set up a mister underneath is the best way to do it. So, or drip irrigation, and try not to water at night with the hose. So, and these are just the publications for the planting guides, and this Texas A&M is a good idea for. They list a lot of diseases and insects. I'm not sure how many of those are in this area, but it's worth looking at. So.